This pretty good coverage is brought to you by Power Grip, the official retail partner of the European Pro Tour.
Hello disc golf enthusiasts from around the world, and welcome back to MDG Media. We are very excited to be bringing you this final round coverage of the FPO lead card here at the EPT All-Stars in Mijas, Spain. A challenging and demanding course met by some of the best players in Europe here today. We have an exciting lead card. My name is Connor Wood, taking you through the action today. We see here Jenni Karppinen had an incredible second round, particularly in the back nine, really lit up the course, and that has put her in the solo lead position going into this third and final round. Kielas, she showed a great command of that standstill game, solid angle control, and able to generate a lot of spin and movement from the disc out of the hand with that standstill. Pretty versatile skill set as well, able to lean on the forehand approach shots, backhands off the tee, and Marie with a very solid putt. We see here Rachel Turton, another great FPO player, concluding a fantastic 2023 season here at this all-star event. She's been very strong off the tee, but unable to translate all the opportunities so far. We'll see if she can figure that out here in this third round. And Sanna Ahlgrén, I believe living here in Mijas, Spain, has a lot of experience on the course, understands the terrain, and showed her savvy experience and course wisdom in the previous rounds. We kick it off here on hole number 1, an 80-meter par 3, although it plays as significantly longer, steeply uphill. You see a lot of players either try and thread this gap as the drone flies left of this tree and the right of your frame, or just throw a huge hyzer over the top if you're comfortable with that line and you're able to generate the power. You see this basket perched on this sloping green with OB close to the right as well as beyond. Quite a touchy hole, and very frequently sort of encourages players
This is your
to give it a bid.
9:30 tee time FPO lead card. In first position with a total score of 3 strokes under par. From Finland, the winner in Sierra Boy Challenge in Heinola and the winner of the PDJ Euro Tour overall point standings, Jenni Karppinen.
Shout out to Calixto there, giving us our player intros on the course. Jenni Karppinen getting our third and final round kicked off. We see the speed from the hand, but not quite the height, catching some early foliage.
With a total score of +2 in second position, Kielas.
Marie here, also looking for that direct straight gap. And solid progress, didn't quite clear that last crest, but certainly going to give herself a long look to the green, shown there by that pan. Rachel does have the power off the tee to play that huge hyzer over the top, and I think slightly low and overturned, but looked to be a straight piercing line. Fighting through, unclear how close Rachel got. Sanna also opting for the standstill on that slightly sloping tee. And you see just not enough power to beat that late guardian. She is caught now in an awkward spot, having to shape this anhyzer backhand under the low ceiling. She's just chipping away. And certainly a slight misrelease for Jenni there, very low to the ground, came out low from the hand and leaves her short. Certainly a test for her putting here on the first hole. Very solid by Sanna, hitting that gap cleanly. We see what Marie is left with. Here's that forehand approach. Fairly reliable. She digs the hill, and that's exactly what you want to do. Anything too much higher than that can risk a roll away. And Rachel The story continues, giving herself a lot of birdie looks. That one just a bit low on the cage. Big moment for Jenni here, and quite a timid putt, all things considered, especially going uphill. She will be walking away with a bogey. Marie here. Par will be enough to find 1 stroke on the leader. Jenni coming in 5 strokes ahead of second place at 3 under par for the tournament. As we see 2 bogeys and 2 pars for our lead card here on hole 1, already a bit of stroke separation. Here we see hole 2, an 81-meter downhill par 3, playing in this funneling valley. Very important to control your distance and nose angle, as anything that goes past the basket will very quickly find itself OB, and going downhill that can happen very quickly. A lot of players will opt to throw something with quite a lot of overstability to ensure that they crash into the hillside. Whether it's a soft backhand turnover or a forehand hyzer, players are going to want to hit the ground before the basket and slide on up. Marie on the box, gives it that backhand bid, and we'll see if it can slow down in time, catches an edge, and unfortunately finds herself OB, what looked to be almost an ace run. This is the more traditional line if you're comfortable throwing forehand. Rachel bombs this hyzer, but you see that stability preventing her from going too straight for too long, and she is in a great spot. Looks to be just within the circle, probably 8 or 9 for her birdie. We go to Jenni here. Interested to see the bounce back potential coming in as the leader. That looks also a little bit too hot. You can see why this hole favors that forehand shape. These backhands don't look particularly errant, but they find trouble just so quickly. Sanna here as well, a little bit better touch on that throw. Not as much speed out of the hand, and that keeps her safe in the circle. Rachel potentially just outside. She floats that over the top. Jenni, a big moment here for par. And she cashes out off the chains. Our leader starting with a bogey on holes 1 and 2. We'll be interested to see if she's able to right the ship and really find that mentality. Coming into a final round as the leader can be quite daunting, and that winner's mindset is something that can be difficult to cultivate if you don't have the experience, but Jenni has tons. Rachel there goes off the edge and coming back up the top now. Unfortunately, will be taking some damage to the scorecard. Meanwhile, Sanna, quite a stress-free birdie. Good tee shot there, allowing her a fairly manageable putt, which she does connect on. Well done. As we see bogeys for both Marie and Jenni. And a double for Rachel. What started as a birdie putt unfortunately unfolds on this tricky green. And you'll see that as a common theme in Mijas. Very treacherous basket placement. A lot of sloping greens. We see here hole 3, a par 4 at 142 meters. Certainly one of the most attackable holes here in this final round. Definitely one that the players are going to want to find the birdie on. Big distance drive over the valley. Get your chip hyzer up to the top plateau and hopefully make your putt. For players with this amount of distance at the end of the season, all of the best players in Europe coming together, this is a hole they can certainly attack. Sanna taking the box, getting a nice hyzer flip up to flat before her disc begins to fade left. You'll notice with these elevated T-pads, all that air under the disc will allow it a little bit more leftwards fade towards the end of the flight than you would traditionally have on flat ground. And we see a nice soft turnover to hyzer out from Marie there. Just got a little bit more turn into the shape than Sanna, really trying to push that distance. I think Jenni as well, certainly going to try and find the birdie here, get back on track, and stop the bleeding. That's quite an ideal spot. Safe progress up the fairway, an open look, no trees in her way. Rachel going for that huge smash, gives it a lot of power, but with a touch of nose up. Doesn't get the max distance that I think she can, although still a big drive, and certainly a good position for her. Sanna navigating this uphill approach shot. We see her hang it out to the right with a bit too much speed and may have gone softly off the back. I love the height, and what a line. Look at the touch from Jenni Karppinen. Almost certainly a birdie for her there. And almost an eagle. That was a great upshot. Gave it both the run and sat it down. Marie as well. You can see for players of this caliber, this hole, quite good. And that's how far Rachel got with a bit of a nose up. I think she's very capable with a good drive of getting into a putting range. Potentially the eagle for her here on hole 3. And it's certainly a different factor if the wind is really strong. This third and final day, as always, a little bit. It's very rare on this southern coast of Spain that there is no wind here in the hills of Mijas. But slightly more pleasant than it was earlier in the week. And with that, Sanna the lone par, while the other 3 competitors do find the birdie. This hole did play as the easiest of round 3 at 3.4. Now we move to statistically one of the most difficult holes on the course, hole number 4, a 232 meter par 5. You'll see a lot of players required to throw a left to right shape off the tee, getting around that first bend, where you're then left with a very long straight look down this corridor where you find the basket tucked away behind this last guardian. This one requiring really 3 solid placement shots on at only 232 meters as a par 5. You don't need to bite off too much, just 75 or 80 meters per throw. However, placement is very important to ensure you minimize the obstacles in your way and try to get good footing here. You see Marie now with the box. Going to be looking to get this turned over to the right, and we see that use of understability, but quite a fast turn to it. Potentially turning too quickly. Jenni, a nice dyed disc in her hand. She was not pleased with her throw in round 2. Having faded out too early, she now makes the correction, but gets it slightly overturned. It doesn't make it back to that flat ground I think she's hoping for, but should certainly be able to continue up the fairway there. This looks to be a great shape from Rachel, and this is crushed. Absolutely smushed. An ideal drive, as Rachel with that huge throw certainly has a chance to even try and push up there somewhere towards a putt. We saw Rachel give it the height, the long sustained turnover, and that late stability to push out and forwards down the path. Really well done. Sanna there, unfortunately, finding too much stability late in the flight, and she's forced to go to this now just to get back into the fairway. Jenni up on this perched area. She's going to shape an Anheuser backhand here, and she hits the mouth of the tunnel. Beautiful control. I like the use of the slightly lower speed disc there to really mitigate anything too crazy from happening. As we see that one bleed out on the hyzer a little bit early once again. And I think Rachel is certainly going for this. She knows she needs it. She's running out of holes. Sitting in third place, I'm sure she's still looking to battle for that lead position. And she hyzers out a bit too early, I think, to have an open putt, but will have a really, really easy birdie if she can just pitch up from there. And Marie absolutely dicing it right down the middle. Cameraman sweating there for a second. I believe Sanna's fourth there. You really want to err to the right side of the basket rather than the left. It will always leave you an open putt, and we see exactly that from Jenni. Karppinen sliding her way up to the green. More of a straight shot than a hyzer, but of course you can swing it up and over. Rachel a little bit shorter than I thought, not quite able to putt just yet. And in fact, that's a tricky bounce there, really reducing her distance quite significantly, getting a kick back into the right. Rachel certainly being tested on the putting green. Sanna as well there with a very specific shape to that putt. We see Marie with a chance. Floats the stepper out, but finds one of those overhanging limbs. That guardian tree really doing its job well. As we go to Rachel for birdie. Low from the hand, you see she looks a little bit deflated, but really had a fantastic drive and good putt there from Jenni. Already back to even for the round after bogeying holes 1 and 2. That's really what you like to see. And Rachel, I think, certainly wanting the birdie after such an amazing drive. But par also quite an alright score. This hole actually averaging 5.7 and came in as the third most difficult of this third and final round. We go now to hole 5, a 101 meter par 3, ever so slightly uphill for the FPO tee. You see 360 degrees surrounding the basket, many guardians. They're very large, they're very imposing, and the gaps that are available to you are very narrow. You have this straight gap through the branches as the drone flies. You can try and swing a big hyzer up over, crash it on in. You can try to go turnover over the left and flatten out. There really is no end to the type of throw you can get there with, but you need the confidence, you need the power, you need the accuracy. And Jenni really not pleased with that out of her hand. You see a slight early release or potentially underturned. Does not hit that first gap, but certainly enough progress that she should be able to salvage par if she has a look. And Marie with a slight over-adjustment to Jenni's line. We'll see if Rachel can split the difference, and find the distance. Just the hyzer bomb, I think, playing really nicely, and unfortunately she gets caught up at the very end. But I think certainly going to have some sort of look for the birdie putt. We'll see if she's able to manufacture that. Sanna playing a low flex line, very driven, nose down angle, flat release or even a soft anhyzer from the hand. And now blind to the basket, she's playing the spike hyzer, I think. Very similar outcome for her as round 2. And she finds herself up in the circle for her par putt. Jenni very compromised. really awkward spot, and she just grounds it. Or is that Marie? I believe that there looks to be... All right, as we go to the putt. A lot of our players wearing blue for this final round. Jenni not too pleased with that putt. Marie with a chance, and look at that. The pace, the spin, the height. Marie with a great spin putt. She showed it in the previous round as well here on coverage. She put herself in the lead after round 1. She's showing you the skills that got her there. Sanna, little shake of the head. I think she certainly wanted that par save, but understanding you can't make all of them. I think in good spirits still. Rachel trying to find something for her birdie here, and again just low off the cage. Jenni cards another bogey, has yet to take a par. Really ride or die here in this final round, which a lot of players might assume if you're coming into the final round as the leader, that you could sort of, especially with a 5-stroke lead, potentially play safe, play for par, wait for your card mates to make mistakes. But I think this course is very polarizing, and that if you don't park it and have a good birdie putt, the bogeys can come very easily, even if you're trying to play safe. And speaking of bogeys, this is a long par 3 at 129 meters, an incredibly well-guarded green. You'll see players off the tee need to clear as much distance over this open field as possible before they hit this linear tree line going diagonally up to the rock wall. This basket is tucked right away at the very back, really requiring 2 good shots. First, a big drive out into the open, hopefully giving you a straight to hyzer look at the basket, and then trying to get one over those late trees and into the green for your putt. Certainly a very difficult birdie. A par is a fine score here. And a great throw there. Pretty much prime position for Murray. Rachel slides on up as well. Jenni with a great hyzer flip up to flat. Good turn. Just crashing into that hillside at the very end. Very nice distance shot there. And Sanna going wider to the right, trusting that late stability, and she finds it. Not throwing quite as far as some of the other players on this card. It offers her the chance to take this unique gap here, and a local line displayed by Sanna Ahlgrén. Really well done. Hits that second gap cleanly, and light work for Sanna. The par here on hole 6, and Jenni as well, even giving it a soft bid. You'll see these sloped backboards behind the baskets really encourage players to give it the juice, give it the height, try to run it. Rachel there from an awkward stance, but just an easy chip shot. And the same for Murray. As we look to be cultivating a par frame here on hole 6. Certainly, as I mentioned, a very difficult birdie, but also a very manageable par. It's quite rare to get a 2 or a 4 unless you find yourself in an awkward position and can't get to the green on the second. I'd say this is a very par-producing hole. And still a good test to check that these players have the distance off the tee, have the touch and accuracy on the upshot, and no damage done. Here we see hole 7, a 103-meter par 3 over the open valley. You must release your disc to the mercy of the winds as well as the slope. This tiered green offering very difficult landing zone. A lot of players will just try to end on the basket or to the right, particularly for the right-handed backhand throw. Any fade left towards the end of the flight can very quickly find you in trouble and way down the hill. If you have the distance on the forehand, it plays most naturally, but I think probably only Rachel showing us that here on this card. A lot of these players preferring the backhand line. Marie up first. And I would say that's a success on this hole. If you can stick the hill and have any sort of look at an easy approach or long putt, I think that that is a solid shot. We see Rachel a little bit too low, but settling quite quickly. I think fortunate there to catch that and slow down. Could be further away and may even still be looking at a putt. Jenni there. Also, you see, playing heavily to that right side for the backhand. We can expect Sanna to do the same here. In round 2, she did in fact find a little bit too much late stability in her throw and faded down the hill. And a similar result here. You see, not quite pushing the distance or the turn. She will find herself in trouble way down there, but we go to Marie first. Likely just looking to pitch this up, hit the ground, keep it close, and textbook there. Good control. This must be Sanna. And a pretty great touch. I mean, a soft delivery with what looks like an understable driver. Very well done to salvage a par from there. If she can make that last putt. And Jenni getting a little saucy there. Gave it a lot of height for what many would consider to be a position that most would lay up on. We saw Rachel did have a chance there, and Jenni for par now. And I think a little bit of an unforced error on that second throw for her. Something sort of between an approach and a putt. And that will cost her a stroke. Sanna as well, after all that work to get herself up there for the par. You can see her let out a sigh. Rachel securing the 3, which will gain her a stroke on Jenni and Sanna, while Marie as well taking the 3. Still sitting at even for the round. Marie only with 1 birdie and bogey, otherwise playing fair pars. Jenni sitting at 1 over, along with Rachel for the round so far. And now 2 over for Jenni with that last putt. Hole number 8, an 84-meter par 3, once again up the hill. This backboard really allowing players to try and hit the ground hard and dig in, potentially slide or skip up. Although another very tight landing zone for an ideal spot to be. This one very difficult to park given the terrain, and a very treacherous putting green. If you're putting laterally from the left or right across the hill, you can very quickly 3-4 putt, just floating off the edge each time. Something within sort of that 7-6 or less meters range really goes a long way. And if you're not in there, I think we'll see a lot of players just look to lay up, take the 3 here, and try to avoid the damage that can be found on this green. Rachel playing that soft hyzer. She's done well to give herself a putt, and she'll be looking uphill. Should allow her to give it a full confidence bid. See Jenni there just cresting enough height to get her way up near Rachel's disc. That one was very low to the ground the entire way, but certainly enough to give her a birdie look. And Sanna, once again, I think a little bit undercommitted to the turn. Fades out, but a very manageable spot. Although that will be one of those lateral putts I mentioned you can find danger on. I think she'll have to run it though for par. We see Jenni with what looked like a great bid from that angle. Looked to be just a little bit right of the chains. Marie here. Rachel a chance now for her birdie. And Sanna fortunately able to find the sit there, hitting the cage. I think a common outcome for that scary putt. You can see, very unusually, this basket is both tethered above and below it to the tree and the ground. A little bit of sway to it. As we see pars for Jenni, Rachel, and Marie, the lone bogey for Sanna. Here we are on hole 9. Very thematic to Mijas, of course. This is a par 3, 78 meter uphill, trying to dig the hillside with a few gaps to hit. You really have this narrow tunnel between the trees. A lot of players will try to lean on a slightly understable fairway or distance driver, release it hyzer in the gap and have it flip up to flat, hopefully slide or skip towards the end. And you see this hill right before the green where the dirt's a little bit less densely packed. If you can just hit that or funnel into there, the disc will often sit down and provide you a birdie chance. But just to get there, you can see how many gaps you need to hit between this tunnel of trees. Slightly low and right for Marie, but I think safe progress up the fairway and very manageable par. Rachel, similar to round 2, playing more of a soft flex line with a more stable disc as opposed to the traditional hyzer flip, and a great adjustment from round 2. She shapes that very nicely through the gap. Jenni bleeding a little bit left, does get caught up and maybe quite obstructed between her and the green. Sanna fortunately sneaking on through, looks to have late released it a bit, but a very nice spot for her here. Just like that, she will be looking at her par as we go to Jenni now. A huge floaty step putt. Really nice to give it a chance there. All the juice in the world on that putt. So uphill. All of these competitors still far away. To putt from that low down and that far away, requiring a ton of spin and power. We go to Rachel here with the best drive of the group. As we see another missed birdie putt, and the frustration there mounting for Rachel as she realizes the holes are running out for her to try and catch up. Solid par there from Marie, who has found 6 in a row here now. Just keeping it clean. Only one bogey on hole 2 and otherwise making it work. Sanna with a par save there. A bit of flutter to that putt at shorter distance. But regardless, in the heart. And we'll see the same from Jenni and Rachel here. A par frame to close out our front 9. As we take a look at the standings here, Jenni holding her solo lead position at 1 under par. 3 strokes behind her in second place, Marie Kielas Rachel in third, 3 strokes behind Marie, and Sanna in fourth place. I think between these top 3 players, they will really be battling in these final 9 holes coming up soon to be crowned your European Pro Tour All-Star of 2023. Thank you for joining us here today on MDG Media. As always, we appreciate your support. You can like, comment, and subscribe, or find us on Patreon, where we'll soon be publishing exclusive content. We appreciate all of your support, and make sure to join us for the back 9 to see who will be crowned your EPT All-Stars champion.